Hello everyone, this is Sean Hargreaves, and here I'm just going to quickly show a tutorial of a floating sphere in a room that I recorded during my class session at the Art Center College of Design. I'm just going to accurately draw a 6-foot horizon line, and I'm going to basically be dead center in the room and have a sphere floating in the middle with a skylight from above lighting the sphere. Here I'm just drawing the room, pulling out the corners here, pulling out the walls. And then we'll just shade this and texture it, and just this kind of exercise covers a lot of things in Photoshop. It's really a Photoshop exercise as well as a lighting exercise. And here I'm just putting in the skylight. I didn't draw these lines on a separate layer, unfortunately, so I just have to erase them. And I'll set everything to a 50% grey. Here I'm popping in my light, and then I can vary everything up and down from the grey in terms of the lightness and the darkness. Here I'm isolating the walls and the floor and ceiling, and just filling them in black and then varying them with the opacity in the layers. Once I've done this, I'm going to just paint in a texture with a texture brush, just to give it an overall texture in black. You'll see in a minute. Once I've just done a little bit of shading. This shading has banding because it's a low resolution canvas, unfortunately. To offset that, you would go to filter and noise. Noise will help you with that. So I'm going to come in a second with a texture brush, and that'll also even a lot of this banding out. I'll paint it in white and I'll paint it in black, two different layers, and then I'll offset the white to the black just by nudging down, and you get this little texture here that you can highlight with a brush. I've turned off that texture now because I'm just showing how I can manipulate the texture into perspective using the transform tool under edit in Photoshop. As you see, I can just kind of pull these into perspective. My favorite transform tool is distort more than anything else. Just have more control over that. Also warp is another one, but that can get quite unwieldy if you don't know what you're doing. Just shading the sphere here. And now I'm just going to put in some atmosphere. Rooms usually have atmosphere. I'm just showing the class here the different types of gradation you can use in Photoshop. I'm just going to use a point gradation and pull it straight down. Rooms contain particles that's been contained in there, so the light's going to pick up this dust, and that's what I'm showing here, just kind of flaring it out using the blur filter, Gaussian blur, set rather low, around 4. Here I'm just putting my light in the bottom here. Now a little bit of reflected light on the walls coming in from the from our ceiling. Going back in, you can pull out just a little bit more, duplicating that and flopping it on the other side. When you duplicate and flop to the other side, flip horizontal, you want to always manipulate it so it's not just a pure mirror image. Here I'm showing how you can make things on a spherical surface in perspective. So this is how we do planets, for example. So we'd go to filter and spherize and basically bulge that out, as you see here. And what happens here is it compromises the quality of the surface, so you have to get a really you got to go back in there and sharpen it and mess around with it, but you want to get definitely a high resolution texture before you spherize it. Again, that's kind of how we do a lot of planets. But back to the polka dots here. Using the same technique. Just kind of eyeball what looks right. And adding a texture on the ball as well. And then doing the same thing, duplicating the texture and offsetting it so it picks up a little bit of highlights, like it's got some real texture on the surface. Little dot particles coming in. Just going in there and pulling out some of the highlights on the top. Top lighting is always very dramatic. It can be quite nice. Just seeing what I can do here with a cloud brush, see if I can get some what we call bloom or flare from the highlight. And one of my students reminded me I didn't put the sphere shadow underneath it, which is coming. And I'm just using unsharp mask, duplicating the layer using unsharp mask and different variants and variations, and basically erasing some areas I don't want to be sharpened. That sets certain areas apart. A lot of artists, concept artists especially, use unsharp mask over the entire piece, but you really want to control that. And a little face in there. It's really important to control the unsharp mask so that you really get a nice feeling for depth. And these walls are looking quite nice now, almost like concrete. And here I'm just showing a student how to use the clone tool. That was my phone. Again, going over one more time with some texture and a little bit of noise. Noise is down to about 4, and that gives a little bit of grit. A little bit of grit. You can really punch it up and make it look like a pencil or a charcoal sketch. I just wanted to give it a little bit of tooth there. It's pure choice. You know, you don't have to use it all the time, but it's nice now and then, especially with black and white renderings like this. So here we have it. I would probably make the shadow a little darker, but for a quick class tutorial, it did the job, and I hope it helped you guys. Thank you very much.